Hello and welcome to the Petticoated Swashbuckler. My name is Marion and today we are giving you something special for Christmas. So I've spent this summer and autumn, making a ton of medieval clothing. I thought it'd be fun to show you some medieval food now that we're getting up to Christmas. And I don't know about you guys, but eating is definitely a big part of my Christmas traditions. So I have roped in my dear friend Marion. She's made a ton of historical food from a lot of different periods, including the Middle Ages.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're gonna make a little medieval Christmas feast.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what we're making?
So today we are doing 4 recipes. One recipe that we both have done before, which is called Hungarian Spinach.
Hungarian Spinach. Yeah, we made that one together.
That one we made together, and it's from a Danish cookbook from 1616. So a little bit late, but I know that they think that some of these recipes are from some German medieval cookbook. But you have to make your own research to double check that. And then we are doing a recipe that you have done before, but not me, which is called the Turk's head pie. And if that sounds a bit racist, it's because it is.
Yes.
But it doesn't have...
No Turkish people are going to be harmed in the production. A few quail, but no Turks. We'll explain later.
Yes. And we are doing a recipe that I've done before, which is a Brie pie. And then we are doing a recipe that neither of us have done before, which is root vegetables in pottage. And all these 3 are from a cookbook from 1390.
Yeah,
1390.
Late 14th century.
Yes, that is called curry on English, or
maybe the form of curry.
The form of
depending
curry.
on who you ask.
Yes.
Apparently, this was like a cookbook that was made by the master cooks of King Richard II, and then the original cookbook has been lost, but people have kind of taken some of the recipes and transcribed them, written them into other books and other manuscripts and texts. And so some researchers have gone through all the Anglo-Norman texts and kind of picked all the recipes that they think kind of belonged in this book originally. So it's probably late 14th century, probably English, and probably good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I also would like to do a shout out that I have used other people's research for these recipes. I have not. I have looked at the original recipes, but I haven't translated them.
None of us are very good in like Anglo-Norman French.
No.
So we have to trust other people.
Yes.
Yeah. Should we just get going?
Let's go on.
Yeah. I mean, the right way of making or like serving food in the Middle Ages, and it's a very strict hierarchy. You start with a soup or a pottage. So we're making a pottage that'll be our. You don't have starters. You don't have like courses in the Middle Ages. You don't have a starter and a main dish and a dessert. Instead, you have all the food, sweet and savory, being served together at the same time. But you still do have some rules as to what you eat first. So you start with something wet because the medieval belief was that your stomach is a cauldron. And so you need to add something wet to it before you add drier food. Otherwise, it'll burn, like adding bacon to a pan that you haven't added any like butter or oil to, and then you can eat the more kind of the meats, and that's when we'll do the Turk's head pie, and that's when you have the Hungarian spinach, and then you have to close up your stomach with cheese to allow everything to kind of bubble and brew and give you all the energy that you need in your everyday life. So that's where the Brie pie comes in. So that's the closest thing we'll get to a dessert, I think, in the Middle Ages. Yeah. Would you agree?
Yes,
yeah,
I agree.
But we have some pies. They probably need some time in the oven. We do not have, we should say, we do not have like a medieval bake oven. We're in a modern house, but we will just use a modern oven. Should we get cracking on some pie dough?
Yes,
Yeah.
that sounds great.
So Marion's dough is almost equal parts butter and flour, and she's mixing cold, hard butter into her flour. Whereas I'm using a lot more flour to butter. I'm using 400 grams of flour and 120 grams of butter, and I've melted my butter before I'm mixing it. You can tell that our doughs are a little different, but both methods, both recipes work really well, and we end up with nice pie doughs that need to just rest a little bit in the fridge.
So the pie doughs are in the fridge. They're gonna rest there for a little bit. In the meantime, we're gonna get on to browning the meat that goes in the Turk's head pie, and I'm gonna explain the Turk's head pie a little bit. Turkish people and the Middle East was very fashionable in the Middle Ages because of the Crusades. It was very exotic and very fancy. And the Turk's head pie is really, it has nothing to do with Turkey or Turkish people. It was decorated to look like the face of someone from the Middle East, but it's really a showy, offy, gamey pie. So whatever sort of game bird or veal or hare or anything, like it asks for minced meat, it asks for hare, it asks for veal, it asks for pheasant. We're going to use, we're not King Richard II, nor any other King Richard. We're going to use what we have. And we are not hunters, so we don't have a lot of veal. But Marion has quail. Oh my god, you're so cute. Hi. Hi, how many quails do you have, Marion?
At the moment I have 10.
10 quail. Hi, darling. So you breed quail, right?
I breed quail,
Yeah. So we have a lot of quail and a lot of quail egg. Do you want to go back to your friends?
Yes.
Okay, you can go back to your friends. Thank you. So, like we think people would have done in the Middle Ages, we are using what we have. And we do have a lot of quail. So we have some quails. And because we are not royal, we have got some cheaper meat that we can kind of pad it out with a little bit. We've got some pig's trotters, which is not by any stretch of the imagination like the most expensive bit of a pig. So we, instead of expensive, fancy bought ingredients, we're using what we have, which feels very historical. So yeah, we're gonna get to chopping up some pig's trotters and browning some quails.
Of course, you don't have ready ground pepper in the Middle Ages, so Marion is just beating some long pepper for us to season our pig's trotters and birds with.
So these are our quail. They've been salted, they've been seasoned with long pepper, and as you saw with our little friend that visited earlier, they're very small birds. So these aren't plucked, they're actually skinned. So you can actually see, this is the breasts, you can see the fat on them. And that's really good, because what we're going to do with these now, while the trotters are boiling, ready to be picked apart, and then the meat that we pick off them, we will also brown a little bit. But while they're boiling, we're going to brown these, just frying them lightly on all sides in a frying pan, and then we're just going to turn the heat down, and they're just going to stay in that frying pan for about 40 minutes. And we really want all this fat to be kind of easily available, because that means they will almost like fry in their own fat, which sounds morbid, but it will taste lovely. So into the pan they go. Yeah, okay, so everything is browning and boiling, and The pie dough is resting. Should we get cracking on some pottage?
Yes.
What do you want to include in a pottage?
Well, a pottage can be a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But today we are doing root vegetables.
Very wintry.
Yes.
Yeah, they last a long time.
And I have to say, when I looked at the Danish recipe that we are using, which is from this English recipe, the Korean English.
Okay, so it's a Danish translation of an English recipe.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Cooked.
Cooked for you by Norwegians in English.
Yes.
Yay! We come full circle.
It's a bit hard to understand some of the what some of the vegetables are, because you have this which in Norwegian we call kålrot.
I think
in English you can call it sweet.
Yeah, or turnip maybe.
Or rutabaga.
Ah, rutabaga. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Very.
so that it has several names, and then you have this is a turnip. And it was very hard to understand if they were talking about this, or if they called
or something entirely different.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
so many turnips.
They did use, but we wrote one of each, and then they were talking about the pastinac. That actually
Parsnip.
Parsnip. Yeah. It also was said in the English. It was the only thing that I think was very.
So we're pretty sure about the parsnips.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it's the
celery. No, parsley root. I don't
parsley.
know. Let's have a look at the translation. Nah, they don't want to talk to us.
Skrivites.
So for all you guys fluent in like Middle English, it's a skurvite. Yes.
But I think you were right when you said
parsley
root. Parsley root. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
But
I'm guessing you could probably use like any root that you have lying around. We're making a point of using as much of what we have and what would be available in the winter. So lots of roots.
So we will be cutting up this, and we will first boil them in water. And I have no idea why they want us to pre-boil them in water. But then after the water, we are putting them in stock, and we have made some stock from the inners of what do you call it?
The quail?
Yeah, the quail.
You can call it innards or humbles is the old word for it. The entrails, basically.
Yes. So it's the leftover of the quails we have made stock from, and we will boil them in the stock, or put them up in the stock and make the pottage from that. But this is the first time we try this recipe, and we will see how it goes.
Very exciting.
Yes.
So do you think, I mean, we're really lucky because you're a wonderful but very weird person, and you have a lot of quail in your home at Christmas. Do you think if you didn't have quail, could you use some other kind of poultry? Could you use chicken? Could you use duck? Could you use goose?
Yeah, you can use any kind of stock. If you have boiled pig, chicken, whatever kind of stock. If you don't eat meat at all, you can do it from vegetable stock.
Yeah.
So
actually, this pottage would be really easy to like make fairly, if not vegan, at least vegetarian.
No, you can make this vegan.
You can make it vegan.
Yes,
okay, that's good to know.
Because you also have in this, you can explain much better than me, but historically they don't eat meat every day.
Oh yeah, that's true. You do have fast days. So this is the Middle Ages. Everyone's Catholic, and according to the Catholic Church, you don't eat meat on Fridays. You also don't eat meat on Wednesdays at some points in history, depending on who's king or queen and how important it is for them to have a lot of sailors who can man their navy. And also you don't eat meat. Actually now, this is the period of Advent, so the 4 weeks before Christmas is traditionally a fasting period, so we're not actually supposed to eat meat if we were medieval Catholics. And also the time period before Easter and a lot of other times of the year.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. And also you're really limited to what kind of food you have available. So if you can't afford meat, if it's the time of year when your cows aren't producing any milk and your chickens aren't producing any eggs, then you're gonna have to be vegan, whether you want to or not.
Yes. And I think this is pretty much, you boil the root vegetables and you also put in some spices, and you don't need a stock if you can't eat it because you are fasting, or if you in the modern world are vegetarian or vegan. Yeah.
Okay, so vegetables and stuff to make it taste nice.
Yes.
Let's get cutting. Okay, so this is the onions in the stock that we're gonna add our vegetables to later, and we are just making it taste nice. Can you tell us, we've added some spice and we forgot to put a camera on, but can you tell me what kind of spice we've added?
Yes, so we are doing a historical medieval spice blend that considers of coriander. I'm not sure if that's the English word, but
coriander.
Cardamom, and cinnamon, and we have mace.
Yeah, so that's the kind of flour around the nut of nutmeg. So it's a little bit cheaper than nutmeg, but it tastes the same. So what I'm hearing is you're basically making a pumpkin spice soup.
Yes. And historically, all these spices would have been blended together.
Is this what's called powder douce?
Powder douce.
Okay, so sweet powder.
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm just winging it. So I have not made a blend.
We're very excited.
And then we also have taken saffron which
expensive.
Is very fitting for this time of year in Norway.
Yeah, we're Scandinavians, so we're a very secular Protestant area of the world, but we still celebrate the Saint Lucia on the 13th of December by eating copious amounts of saffron or turmeric if you're cheap.
Yes.
Okay, so we've added a lot of spice. We're still waiting for our vegetables to soften before we can mix all this together.
Yes.
And I mean, a lot of people probably heard that people in the Middle Ages used a lot of spice to cover the taste of rotten food, right? Yeah, we don't believe that.
No.
First of all, if you would need an awful lot of cinnamon to cover the taste of rotten food, and secondly, even though you added like a ton of spice, you would still get really ill from eating rotten food. And thirdly, if you can afford saffron and cinnamon, you could probably afford good meat.
I think so.
non-rotten food. So yeah.
There is also the saying that people could not afford spices, and while that's true that that spices is expensive, I have heard that it was not so uncommon as people would like to think.
So I'm just going to put this to the side now, and then we can get on with our next job, which I'm not sure what is, but we'll figure it out.
I think it's a pie.
It's a pie! There's always a pie.
Well, it's a pie or it's
It's a pie. Maybe it's the spinach.
Or the spinach. Yeah, we can do the spinach.
Should we do the spinach?
Yes.
All right. So Hungarian spinach. This is a weird recipe that I thought I would hate when we made it together. So we know that they had this in Denmark in the early 1600s, probably had it in Scandinavia earlier than that. For this recipe, we need a ton of spinach. You always need a ton of spinach because it disappears. What else do we need? We need some red onion. Let's get to chopping. So we have the spinach, and I poured some boiling water over it, and already it's been wilted like a lot. If you remember how much it was, it was up to here. Now it's a lot less. And Marion has chopped some red onions, and we're gonna add that to a pot. But we're also adding a weird ingredients because spinach and red onions not so weird. What have we added?
We have added raisins.
Red onions and raisins, classic combination. If there are Hungarians out there, please let us know, is this how you really cook your spinach? Because I doubt it, but it's gonna sound weird, it's gonna get weirder and weirder, and then the result is surprisingly good. Now we're gonna chop up the spinach, we're gonna add it to this pot, and we're gonna boil it.
After chopping up the spinach and adding it to the pot, I'm just lightly kind of pushing it down a little bit. I'm then adding some water. And a little bit of white wine vinegar. This all goes to boil.
Okay, so the spinach is boiling or cooking, and the last ingredient that we're gonna add is perhaps the weirdest one. Well, it's a draw between the raisins and this, I think. This is sugar, and I was told when I went to school that we didn't have sugar in the Middle Ages. We had honey or nothing at all. That's just not true, is it?
No, it's not true. But you use sugar differently because sugar was used more like a spice.
All right, so that makes sense. And it would come like this, wouldn't it? So this is a sugar cone, and if you look at it, you can see kind of the pattern. Should I do the beauty blogger thing? Yes. Oh, it actually works. You can see the pattern of the cloth that it's been like kept in when it was hardened, and then you're supposed to break off little lumps and beat them into submission. Sugar. We value our time and our arm muscles, so we're not going to do that. We've cheated. We have some regular sugar, but I thought it'd be fun to show you, how a lump of sugar would look like. This is a lump of sugar, and it's really heavy.
Yes.
Okay, we have boiled root vegetables, and they smell like boiled root vegetables, and they look like boiled root vegetables. And now we're adding the interesting stuff.
Yes, so we have the root vegetables, the stock, onions, saffron, the salt. We might do a taste testing for salt later on, but and then the powder juice.
Okay, so if I hold the big one, do you want to pour the small one?
Yes.
All right. Ooh.
and then it's supposed to heat up.
Okay, so
Yeah,
back to the stove.
back
we go.
to the stove.
Okay, so we have boiled our pig's trotters. They now look like this. And they're very gelatinous.
Yes.
Yeah. So you were saying that the water that we boiled them in, we could probably use as a jelly.
Yes. You don't want to use it as a sweet jelly, but you can use it as aspic for meatier jellies.
Yeah. No kind of children's birthday party with pig flavored jelly. So we're just gonna pick these clean, and then we're ready for the birds.
Yes.
Let's just say I've done this recipe before, but then I just bought all the ingredients, I bought everything that the book said. We were experimenting a little bit now, and
when you experiment with food, sometimes it doesn't go as planned.
Yeah.
I have boiled pig trotters before to make aspic, but I didn't use the trotters. And we realized after tearing them apart, there was very little meat.
Some people love eating pig trotters. I'm genuinely curious, what is it that you eat? This is the pig trotteriness that we have picked apart, and I will now show you our plentiful harvest of pig trotteriness. Ta-da! This enormous mound of meat is everything that we gleaned from those pig trotters. So I wouldn't call it a failure, but not a complete success.
Oh, it's a part of the
learning process.
The learning process is you do something and then next time you do it better.
Yeah. So next time we're not going to use pig trotters. Fortunately, Marion here has a lot of weird food in her freezer. So we're going to keep on the theme of using what we have and also what might have been available to people in the Middle Ages, in the middle of winter. And also bits of the animal that aren't that expensive, but that we can dress up to look fancy for Christmas. So we are now currently defrosting a cow's tongue. Yes. I think the pro word for it is neat's tongue. We're defrosting that. We're gonna add that to our pie, and the birds. Ta-da! They've turned out amazing. So we're just gonna pick those apart, and
bird inners.
That's the offal from the stock that we made for the pottage. So this is a lot of reusing, which is great fun. So let's chop up some birds. Yes. I now feel really silly that we didn't realize we could sit.
Yes.
We have two camera setups, so I could move, and I haven't brought my camera, I've just brought my phone, so we could move the phone from the big one to the lower one, and we're now just, ooh, that's worse. That's better. Oh well, you learn. We're gonna get so good at this.
Yes.
All right, this is the pie dough that we left to rest in the fridge earlier. The one with melted butter. And it's coming together quite nicely.
Great. I will butter up the pie.
Yes.
Pie form.
So we're using pie, what's the name for it? I can't recall. Stuff to make pies in. They wouldn't have in the Middle Ages. They would have made pie dough that could just stand up on its own. And they would have made pie dough that would not have been included in the meal. Like, the pie dough is disposable, you would just eat what's inside. I've even seen it referred to as coffin.
Yes.
So of course they would have had different kinds of fats that they would use for different stuff. We're using a lot of butter, but What other kinds of fats would people would be available?
Oh, there are many different types of fat. I think for a pie you could also use tallow. What's
Tallow?
in English? Tallow, yeah.
Tallow, yeah.
So I think tallow, because tallow doesn't have a lot of flavor, so it's very good for baking.
You don't want your pastries to taste like pig, do you?
No, you don't. So if it says tallow, you can maybe take butter instead, but I would not take lard.
Or goose fat?
Or definitely not any not any kind of bird fat.
Okay, because that has a very distinct flavor.
Yes.
Okay.
But you could maybe, but also a lard is much softer.
Oh yeah.
And tallow it melts on a higher temperature, so it keeps together much better.
I tried to make 18th century hair pomade using lard once instead of tallow, and I had to keep that in the fridge, otherwise it just melted away.
So
do you think if you're vegan, we talked about making, I mean this obviously is a pie with meat and more meat, so it's a very non-vegan pie, but if you were going to make a vegan pie, could you use say coconut oil?
I never tried it myself, but if I go to the store, I can buy a ready-made pie dough, which is made with oil instead. So apparently that is possible.
Yeah.
I just haven't done it myself.
I'm just making the lid for pie. We have so much stuff on the table now. While Marion is just dicing up the dates that have been soaking in the honey water. I think maybe the meat first in the bottom. Do you agree?
Which one of the meats?
All of the meats.
All of the meats.
I think we put all of the meats in that one, to be honest. No, you have some of the meats there.
Yeah. So okay, but I start with this one.
Mm-hmm.
There we are.
That's a lot of meat.
Yes.
So much meat. And then the dates.
And the nuts. What kind of
the spice first.
spice
and the
first.
sugar. So if you add the spice, I'll see if I can find the sugar.
You want all of this spice?
all of the spice.
Yeah. Okay.
And sugar. And that's also weird for me because we have this very strict division in the way we make food, don't we? Between sweet and savory. But they really mix it up a lot in medieval recipes, don't they?
They do.
Okay, should we grab the cheese? The cottage cheese. So a layer of that.
And I will wash my hands and I will get some nuts.
Yeah. So we're gonna, because we don't have pistachios, we're gonna do something else. We do have some almonds, but they don't want us to like chop them up. They want them whole. And I think biting into a piece of pie and having like a whole bit of almond would be too much. But
I think this is better.
yeah, I agree. Some walnuts. So should we just...
Yeah, you just do like this and we spread them around.
And then we do have some chopped, I think this is some almonds and some hazelnuts.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sprinkle that as well. And then we're going to add the honey water. Just drizzle this on top. So weird, it's meat, but it's like sugar and honey and nuts and fruits. I guess it's fairly, in some ways, fairly similar to a like a mince pie.
Yes.
In a way, with the meat and the dried fruit and the spices.
Actually, it's very, I think we are like lacking the tallow.
Yeah, but we do have a lot of...
But you have the cheese.
We have the cheese and we have a lot of... we don't have a lot of pig.
No.
But we had a lot of trouble with the pig.
Yes. Well, we learned something today.
Yeah.
That's what I like with historical cooking. You learn, you make some mistakes, and then you try one more time, and then you do it better next time.
Yeah.
And,
That's true.
And when you've done it enough times, you do your own take on it. And sometimes that's the best versions.
So traditionally this is decorated with like the face of a man. But yeah, we should definitely make some holes for steam. Do you think we should draw something on it?
I think give it a moment and we should check how much dough we have from the other pie. Because I'm only doing one part and I'm using a much smaller.
She's so smart. This is what we're doing, why we're doing this with her, not just with me, because it would be a mess. All right, so we have a pie. Ta-da! We're gonna cut some holes in it, but we're gonna make another pie first.
Yes.
What do you need us to do for your pie?
I think we need to find a pie dough and we need to butter up a pie.
Yep.
We can sit this one behind us.
So what are we making for this sweet pie to close off the stomach?
So, as I said to my sister-in-law who can't have any kind of milks, this is not the pie for you. Because it's a tart or a pie with cheese and fløte.
Cream.
Yeah. With a very buttery dough.
So buttery.
And creme fraiche. So it's all the milk products.
So you're adding eggs and cream?
So we have 3 whole eggs and 3 egg yolks, and then we have cream, creme fraiche, the Brie, which I will chop up in pieces, and some spices.
Of course.
And then you just take everything together, and then you fill up half of this, because it will.
Oh yeah, so it's basically you put the Brie in, and then you pour the egg thing on it.
No, you chop up the Brie in this one, and then you.
So this is basically a glorified omelette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, wonderful. I like omelette.
Actually, in the original recipe here, it says powdered ginger,
Okay.
sugar, saffron, and salt. So yeah.
So powdered ginger, sugar, saffron, and salt.
Yeah.
Sounds good. This is like modeling in clay
Yes.
when you were in kindergarten, which is wonderful because I never really grew out of kindergarten. It's supposed to be very angry. All the head pies I've seen, they look very angry, which is understandable because the Crusades were not a nice thing, and they were. I'm guessing the Turkish people would be very cross with being made into pies. I mean, crusading is not that big of a thing in Norway. There were Norwegian crusaders as well, but not that. It's Scandinavia is no hot spot for medieval crusaders. So I don't know if we were naming this pie after like a Norwegian enemy. It would probably be a Dane pie. Dane's head pie.
Yes, Dane's head pie.
So unless that offends you, being part Danish.
No, I can definitely stand behind the Danish pie.
Okay, so we're just gonna call this the Dane's head pie from now on. That's good. I'm gonna give our little Dane here some nostrils. We made too much fun. But this is a very, very angry Danish guy. Look at him. He's so angry.
Nå heller du ut på.
Oh no!
Det går bra.
It's the honey escaping. My Danish guy. He looks so angry. He's been made into pie. I'm getting angry. Okay, into the oven.
Yes.
Our Brie and Dane pies go.
Yes. So we start with the Dane pie because it's supposed to be 40 minutes, and this one is supposed to be 50 to 20.
Okay.
So I think we just put that one in,
And
then we make a table.
And then we eat. Brie pie.
Definitely.
Just like the one I made last year.